Okay, we would start the second part of this session, and we have 6 speakers. Again, this is about the activities of the stakeholders, what they are doing in the domain of cybersecurity. We would start with Pierre Ouedraogo, who is Program Manager at the Institut de la Francophonie Numérique. Again, like in the previous session, please let's try to fit the presentations maximum 10 minutes because we need to hear from the audience. We had a delay during the last session because the presentation, some of them were 11, 12 minutes, and when you have 6 people, you start accumulating delay, so we had to get into our coffee break. We are 15 minutes behind our schedule, so please, presenters, try to be maximum 10 minutes. So, Pierre, you are the first speaker.
So good morning. I am Pierre Ouedraogo from Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie. And I am going to talk about the Francophonie activities in the sector of cybersecurity. I have been asked to be very short, so I brought the presentation to be short, and this is a real pleasure for me as my language is not English, so I will not speak too much. Don't worry. I know only 600 words. Okay, a few words about Francophonie, because some of you have been asking me what is Francophonie. It is an international organization that goes by charter, with 53 member states on the 5 continents and with many components. You have even a TV and association for mayors and the parliament and everything. Okay, quickly about the approach. For us in the ICT sector, our vision can be related in 3 points. First of all, we like to encourage and to promote the freedom of technological choice. This means that what we have seen in Africa mainly is that people generally don't know about the wide range of technology that is available, and sometimes they don't make the good choice. This doesn't mean that we encourage people to use only free software, but they should know what they can do with free software, what they can do with proprietary software, and make their choice with full freedom, and also guarantee the interoperability with open standards. Sharing. This is a keyword very important for us in Francophonie, and it is inside our charter. And we see free software as part of digital solidarity, as an opportunity for least developed countries to come inside the digital industry, and also a good opportunity for least developed countries to respect fully international intellectual proprietary right. Because if you know that you can install free software on your computer and don't have to cheat the license of a company, this is something good. And also the technical ownership. One aspect that is important for us is inclusion, multilingualism, in the framework of cultural diversity, and we have been one of, I think, the big promoter of the convention, the UNESCO convention in this sector. What is the context in Africa? In Africa, there are many priorities: food, health, education, and so on. When you come to speak to people about ICT, it comes sometimes like something that is not useful. And if you start speaking about cybersecurity, they say, oh, maybe we shouldn't go there because we already don't have enough for food, health, education. Why are we going to go for another problem? And this is a dilemma that for us will harm the development and the use of ICT for development. So we have two axes in Francophonie. One axis is capacity building through free software. Why we do that? Because generally in all the countries you have proprietary software training centers already, so we don't need to establish that. But for the free software, there is nothing done in this sector. So we supply that by supporting the online communities through mailing lists. So, for example, if you have a technical problem in Madagascar and you ask a question, the answer can come from Dakar in Senegal, for example. We organize also technical workshops on internet security. We organize some national, like in Lomé, Togo, in Antananarivo, Madagascar, and now we have concentrated our efforts on regional workshop at African free software meetings that we call RAL, in French, Rencontre Africaine de Logiciels Libres, and we had already 3 editions. The first one was held in Ouagadougou, then in Libreville and in Rabat, and the next will be next year in Abidjan. We train trainers in firewall and other tool and other internet security tools, and so when they go back, they can use the 12 ICT labs that we have implemented in Africa to disseminate the knowledge, train other people, and help to build the network of national software users. We have also a pilot network of mirror sites where you can download free software inside your country. Because of the international bandwidth that is very small in most of the countries, it is very difficult to download the software. And sometimes people have difficulty to bring the updates. So we have one master based in Paris at our headquarters, and we have the 5 mirrors in the 5 countries. Of course, we don't have only software about cybersecurity, but we have the others. But we know that if your software is not updated, you may have some security problem. For the networking activities, this is the second axis. When we train people in all of the sectors, we try to set up networks so they can keep sharing knowledge together and follow up the technical evolution that occur in the ICT sector. And I choose to speak about 2 main initiatives in the cybersecurity area. The first one is about public key infrastructure, and we had a meeting with the launch of AfriPKI initiative in Tunisia, and we worked with Economic Commission for Africa and also the Tunisian National Certification Agency called ANCE, and who has actually the secretariat of the AfriPKI network. And we are now preparing the first African Cybersecurity Conference that will be in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, from September 30 till October 2nd, 2008, and it is a cooperation between Francophonie and Ivory Coast government with the objective to share best practices, boost South-South cooperation, set up regional entities and networks to overcome lack of finance and lack of capacity. Because when you take a region like West Africa, you are not able in every country to establish now, for example, a cert and have everything that is necessary. But if we put our efforts together in one region, we can share and help the country that may not come to this issue in the next 2, 3, 5, or 10 years, because all the countries don't have the same goals at the same time. And prior to this conference, we will have in June a national cybersecurity workshop in Ivory Coast also to prepare the IF CyberSec 2008. Here I have put the contact for Ivory Coast and myself for the IF CyberSec, and we hope that many of you will help us to achieve this conference. And I want to say thank you to ITU, to Council of Europe, to ANSI, Tunisia, and to all the people here that have heard about that and come to me to say, we will help you. And we hope that all of you, after this presentation, will come up and say, yes, we are ready to help you. Conclusion, OIF is trying to help the African region to keep update, set up its own independent structure for cybersecurity, build technical capacity, and is seeking for partnership with other international organizations to bring broader support. I put also some few links if you want to look at it. Our institute and also some African organization. And I would say the Source Forge, which is a new initiative, and where we have more than 70 African projects actually in free software made in Africa by African. But they are not all of them related to cybersecurity, but we hope that after the conference, maybe some people will try to do some software, and during the RAL, the African Free Software Meeting, we have a trophy called Trophée du Libre, that is an award for the best software made in Africa. And thank you.
Okay, thank you for that interesting presentation, which shows that even at the regional level, there are a certain number of activities, and I think some of the regions which are more advanced could also help what is going on in other regions. So I would encourage those who have seen this link to see how they can help this event take place in September, October. We'll go straight to the second presenter, Dr. Henning Wegener, who is the chairman of the Permanent Monitoring Panel on Information Security of the World Federation of Scientists.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I welcome the opportunity to inform this meeting about our work on cyber security within the World Federation of Scientists and to place it in the perspective of our joint work here. The World Federation of Scientists was founded in Erich, Sicily in 1973 by a group of eminent scientists. The founder was Professor Sikiki, who is still active here at the CERN in Geneva. The Federation has grown to include more than 10,000 scientists drawn from more than 110 countries, among them a great number of Nobel Prize winners. We promote international cooperation in science and technology between scientists and researchers from from all the parts of the world striving towards an ideal of free exchange of information where scientific discoveries and advances are shared among all the people so that everybody may experience their benefits. And the Federation has started out with a great preoccupation with the nuclear age, with nuclear issues and the nuclear threat. And for some time now, we have broadened the scope of inquiry without abandoning the nuclear focus to what the Federation calls planetary emergencies, time-critical phenomena that epitomize the fragility of modern society, endanger stable human development, and therefore call for urgent and coordinated international responses on an interdisciplinary basis. And some prominent areas which we are dealing with are energy, climate, biotechnology, new diseases, water and desertification, extreme weather events, pollution, and lately, but intensely, terrorism. And we have, for all of these fields, formed working groups, interdisciplinary, widely geographically distributed groups. We call them permanent monitoring panels, and at the same time, the World Federation develops specific pilot projects. They are developed and implemented to mitigate the very planetary emergencies which we analyze. And an important concomitant aim is to support scientific elites in developing countries and projects aimed at the solution of their problems. Since the 90s, in the course of the international seminars it holds, the World Federation has identified the threats emanating from cyberspace as a major indicator of the fragility of modern integrated societies and of undoubted relevance to the functioning and security of the world system, and indeed as a planetary emergency. Because we found out that not only is the cyber insecurity growing at an alarming pace, as we all know in this room, but that calls for a united effort of the entire international community and specifically the scientific community. And the Permanent Monitoring Panel on Information Security, for which I speak, was founded in 2001 and has since proceeded to analyze the situation and to make appropriate recommendations. Our group is very varied in geographical distribution and disciplines, but in addition, it's small, but interacts with the scientific community of the WFS at large. We have in our midst a good deal of technical expertise, but our focus has been quite clearly on the political and institutional aspects of cyber insecurity. Our approach and our project reflect the traditions of the World Federation. There is first the ingrained interdisciplinary method. Then there is our concern with national and international security. We view cyber insecurity primarily as a possible generator of cyber conflict that transcends the individual or enterprise sphere. Further, we are convinced of universal rather than parochial cyber vulnerabilities, of parochial cyber strategies rather universal rather than parochial. And then our third emphasis is that we reflect our awareness of the special cyber vulnerabilities of developing countries by making proposals for building security strategies into the process of overcoming the digital divide. Our concern has been from the beginning that cybercrimes, with their instantaneous speed, the potential for the destruction of major societal assets, and the impairment of social frameworks, are not so much or not predominantly a nuisance or source of economic loss for the individual internet user economic entity, but a major source of peril for the nation state and the international community. Cyber war, the use of information weapons, is a very real technique of war. We have again and again focused on scenarios of a lethal combination of simultaneous attacks on individuals, the economy, critical infrastructures, and national defense assets. Without trivializing the economic dimension of cyber attacks and the exponential growth of organized economic cybercrime, our focus, frankly, has been cyber conflict, the evolving face of cyber war, including the current emergence of cyber terrorism. In our papers and discussions, we have attempted to capture the alarming new trends toward these forms of international cyber conflict and have also analyzed the relationship of cyber attacks to extant international law. We have noted with interest that also NATO, beyond the secrecy of its work, has now given public expression to its concern with the need for collective cyber defense in its recent Bucharest Summit Declaration. Indeed, we have, as a group, been in touch with the NATO Secretariat on these matters. We have repeatedly called for work on an amplification of international law to encapsulate cyber war or even lesser transborder hostile actions by states or non-state actors. It's presently unclear how traditional international law pertains to cyber attacks and how information weapons are to be dealt with in the laws of armed conflict. At the highest echelon, the cybersecurity issue requires examination, interpretation of the United Nations Charter, which was, of course, not drafted with the cyber age in mind. How do cyber attacks, information warfare, relate to the terms of the Charter? A key concept needing elucidation is the Charter term armed attack. Could the use of ICT to cause or entail death and destruction in another state automatically be considered such? Article 151 of the Charter. This is, to us, appears to be an urgent action point. A further guiding thought of our work has been the overriding necessity of global action, specifically legal, to ensure information security. Global approaches are acquired, and it's not by accident that our first major contribution to the WSIS process, you see it cited here, bears the title Toward a Universal Order of Cyberspace, Managing Threats from Cybercrime to Cyber War. In this early document, in this recommendation, we make the case for a comprehensive international law of cyberspace, a concept now further developed in a recent UNITOR study by one of the members of our group, Ambassador Ahmad Kamal. And we assign the leading role in ensuring the functioning protection of cyberspace to the United Nations, including with a number of organizational proposals, which in part are now happily superseded by the Tunis agenda for the Information Society, with its many prescriptions, creating a nascent international cyber security regime. The international regime idea I mentioned yesterday also in our debates, with a determinate role for the ITU. The UN role and the need for ever closer international cooperation in fighting cyber insecurity are now universally accepted. We have also attempted to make some intellectual input in the ongoing endeavor to harmonize and complete national cyber law codes by individual cooperation. Our third major emphasis is injecting more security thinking into the ICT capacity building for developing countries. Convinced that the increasing legal divide and security divide in the information age are the greatest barriers to bridging the digital divide, we have again and again substantiated the argument that capacity building and security building have to go hand in hand. Our contribution to the WSIS at its Tunis phase, information security in the context of the digital divide, makes concrete recommendations to this end. While our main point of argument is now well reflected in many international activities, it is to be regretted, and I say this openly, that one major forum of the global civil society is specifically designed to raise the level of consciousness for the ICT needs of developing countries, the Global Alliance, GATE, G-A-I-D, has so far excluded the security argument and has remained insensitive and even unresponsive to various inputs our group has tried to make to their work. Let me now share, you see here on this slide some of the items which we included in this paper on the cybersecurity in the context of the digital divide, a twin task, designing for information security, broadening and improving the third framework. That idea is now, I think, also universal. Cost-effective cybersecurity solutions for nascent information societies, an effective transnational anti-spywar strategy, and cyber repression, denial of information access through Internet essential. Now, I come to the close. I'm suitably reminded that this is what I should do. And let me now share very briefly with you 3 ideas of what we could do and could do more. The first thing is that there should be more interaction and networking between the civil society organizations like ours. We would be very happy in recruiting members more widely. As associate members, they would not need to attend meetings unless they so desire, but could provide inputs and follow the events. And in the same logic of interaction, we would be interested in networking with other organizations in our chosen field of endeavor. My second action point here is collective efforts to promote a culture of cyber society. The culture of cyber security is, of course, a very current endeavor also in IDU, alimented by UN General Assembly and OECD resolutions. And we find that the cultural shift to include cybersecurity into the behavior in the digital world, ingrained awareness, comprehensive view of security obligations, steady vigilance by information agents, etc. A broad societal awareness requires the cooperation of many, and our panel is presently providing inputs to the work program of the ITU on an ITU toolkit for promoting a culture of cyber society. And finally, I repeat a suggestion I made in this meeting last year, and which we feel deeply about. We welcome the excellent work the ITU is doing as the cybersecurity gateway, and we think we should all contribute to making this a universal marketplace for information in the cybersecurity world. And that would, of course, require that as many stakeholders as possible provide topical inputs, and there are synergies and higher levels of global awareness to gain, and we should not let those gains escape us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that interesting presentation. Our next speaker is Richard Simpson, the Director General of Electronic Commerce Branch of Industry Canada.
Thank you, Alexander, and good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to take part in this dialogue, and we very much appreciate the opportunity to present our views on a subject that is of such critical importance to the future of the information society. As a Director General in a Department of Industry, my perspective on the subject and what I will offer is primarily an economic perspective on the problem. That's not to say that other considerations are not important or that this is the only consideration, but I think we'll all agree that's a very important one for all of us. As you all know, a huge internet economy lies at the center of the global information society. Its worldwide value is in the trillions of dollars, trillions of euros, trillions of francs. It works in any currency. And it is growing at a tremendous pace. This translates into enormous economic value at the national level as well. In Canada, we have seen an average rate of growth of 50% in the online economy, now beyond $62 billion Canadian. And this is a very similar pattern in many other countries. But the internet economy faces severe threats, both to the network platform the Internet itself, as well as to the online marketplace. As we heard in the last session, spam is still around. It continues to threaten network stability and reliability just by the sheer volume, over 90% by some counts of email traffic still is spam. And it has become increasingly sophisticated and dangerous. Moreover, it serves as the primary carrier of threats such as phishing, spyware, and other malware, which are collectively subverting trust and confidence in the online marketplace. In this context, we also should definitely mention botnets. Certainly, if you talk to any network operator, the ones I speak with at least they all talk now about the threat that botnets pose. They are both the primary vehicle for spamming, but also a major network threat in their own right. The real economic costs of these threats are huge, both the direct cost of countermeasures and productivity losses, which together could amount to hundreds of billions of dollars to the worldwide economy. But the real cost is an opportunity cost, because the resulting erosion of trust and confidence means that the Internet may not reach its full potential, either in economic or in social terms. Even without these statistics, if you are in this room, you already understand and believe in the importance of a safe and secure Internet. Yesterday, in his opening remarks, the Deputy Secretary General spoke about the value of a safe and more secure Internet. His terminology, in my mind, captures very nicely two interrelated but distinct challenges we face. First, to ensure a viable, secure, and reliable network platform, the Internet as infrastructure, and secondly, to support a safe and trustworthy online marketplace. So we have at least two challenges, and as the Internet is everywhere and used for virtually everything, any response to these challenges must necessarily be a complex one. It must be multi-layer, multiplayer, and coherent at the international level. So this is one of the main messages that has come from several participants in the sessions today and yesterday. We need a multi-layer, multiplayer, and coherent international response to this issue. Coherent is the hard part. For us, a multi-layer response boils down to a three-tier cyber defense strategy, both domestically and internationally. First, we need strong criminal law and effective law enforcement. They are very important. It boils down to, in our mind, technology-neutral laws as the foundation for this, meaning that you prohibit criminal activity no matter what form or forum it uses. And you make sure that it applies specifically in that technology-neutral way to the online environment. For example, fraud is fraud, whether it's conducted online or in the traditional way. Secondly, as part of this first tier, you need adequate physical and physical resources for effective enforcement. I think many countries face the problem of shifting resources to the online environment where much of this criminal activity is taking place. But strong criminal law and effective enforcement are not enough in themselves, either to secure the network platform or make the marketplace safe for business and consumers. To complement criminal law and enforcement, we also need civil law solutions, that is, legal and regulatory instruments that can be applied both by public agencies and by the private sector. In this respect, I mention rights of private action, which can be a very important instrument in the area of the online marketplace to ensure that there are measures taken to avoid spam, avoid spyware, and other damaging forms of online behavior. Finally, we need effective voluntary measures taken by the private sector primarily. Industry codes of conduct and best practices are examples of this type of measure. Technical standards that operate across industry are another very effective instrument that could be developed with or without government leadership. And generally protective measures, including cooperation and information sharing for collective action by industry, sometimes and perhaps ideally in partnership with government. Now I'll just conclude with 3 examples of how this 3-tier defense strategy might operate at the international level. One example has been referred to quite often in the last 2 days, and that is the Council of Europe's Convention on Cybercrime. So I won't go into the details. You heard from a Council of Europe spokesperson about this instrument and have heard from other speakers as well. One point I would like to mention is that this is not simply model law to copy in the sense that it's a domestic law with respect to computer crimes, but it also, at least for Canada, provides the legal tools necessary for effective enforcement cooperation at the international level. So these tools, regardless of whether you use the Convention on Cybercrime or use some other instrument, really are necessary in order to deal with the cross-border nature of cybersecurity, broadly defined, especially its criminal aspects. Secondly, a further instrument at the international level, which I'll use some examples of how some international bodies have provided non-criminal instruments which could be used to deal with various aspects of threats to the Internet economy, namely those threats that are directed at the online marketplace and trust and confidence specifically. These instruments deal with protecting privacy, strengthening information security, and combating network threats such as spam. You heard from an APEC-TEL representative about some of their work on cybersecurity strategy. The OECD has also a number of instruments which they have developed over the years to deal with these aspects of cybersecurity. One point that I'd like to mention is that these instruments generally are not about absolute security goals, such as, I don't want to be simplistic, but they're not about seal, control, and defend, which is a security goal in the absolute sense. These instruments reflect the reality of a global information economy where the flow of communications and information is essential to commerce, trade, and economic growth. And I think this is a critical concept that we want to remember, that absolute security is something that has to be connected with our need for social and economic development more generally. The final area of that 3-tier cyber defense strategy, which I'd like to mention is in place. This international response is a messaging the example of an international response I'm using is the Messaging Anti-Abuse Working Group, which is a forum for exchange of intelligence and metrics on current and emerging threats such as spam, develops best practices for things like network management, and provides a focal point for cooperation with governments on anti-spam initiatives generally, including legislation and public awareness. So just as 3 examples of international instruments and how they're developing in those 3 tiers of cyber defense, I wanted to mention those. Looking ahead, there is work going on in APEC-TEL to develop further cyber defense strategy. The OECD Ministerial Conference on the Future of the Internet Economy is coming up next month, and that will also provide more OECD work in this area. And, of course, what we're engaged in today, a very important exercise, particularly in terms of finding coherence in the international community, WSIS Action Line C5. Just in conclusion, in summary, the 3-tier defense strategy is our perspective on how we could go about organizing work in this area. The last bullet about business and governments working together, I guess, is the multiplayer point. But just to elaborate that cliche, partnerships are extremely important in this area, but so is an agenda. And I think that what we need to focus on here to provide that coherence that I mentioned is the need for some goals, targets, milestones, benchmarks on which we can measure progress, which would be a way of explaining what we are hoping to achieve and when. Unless we're able to explain what those goals are, what the targets are, and when we're going to achieve them, we won't have the type of coherence that we're looking for as part of a global agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. We move straight to the next presenter, if I can find the proper list. Okay. So, Manuel Pedrosa de Barros from Portugal. Please, let's try to stay within the 10-minute. It is important for you because there are things which the audience might want further clarification on. If you just go on and talk for 15 minutes, there is no time. And, there's no time for anybody to seek clarification on what you presented. And you might not know what is of interest to them if you don't give them the opportunity to be able to give comments on your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the opportunity. I came from Portugal, more precisely, I came from ANACOM. ANACOM is the Portuguese National Communications Authority. ANACOM has several roles on this issue. We are the Electronic Communications Regulatory Agency, and also for the postal sector, we are the Spectrum Management Agency. We also have a supervisor role on the electronic communication sector and on electronic commerce. We have a representation role of the Portuguese state regarding communications. We have a regulatory role, and we are also the communication sector standardization body in Portugal. And finally, we give advice to the Portuguese government on communications issues. So I came from the Communication Security Office. I'm the director of this office. This office was created last year as a reaction of ANACOM to the ever more importance of security. We have at this office cover both the security, emergency, and the standardization issues. My plan in this presentation is to present what we are doing and what is our view of the issue now. I should stress that on the point of view of ANACOM, there are 3 important areas that we are paying attention. One of them is convergence. The other one is next generation networks. And the other one, since we are in the European Union, is the new regulatory package. So, regarding the security, we have developed, and we are in the trains of developing several projects. The projects, the first one is an evaluation of a concession on regards to communication security. What's the up-to-date? It is an old concession, and we are looking at it and how it's, is it still adequate? It's not adequate. Should it be up-to-date? Should it not be up-to-date? What are the issues there? The second one, it's an evaluation of policies between the civil protection policies and communications public policies. So there's a full number of bodies that deal with civil protection, and we want to understand what are the connections between these two issues. The third one is we want to understand what's the external and interregional interdependence of Portugal regarding communications. The sector is liberalized, it's privatized. We want to understand what are the main connection points, what are the communications policies there, is there a redundancy there or not, what should be done. So we are in fact dealing with availability and redundancy aspects on security. On the fourth project, we are looking at interdependencies. So we are dealing with risk analysis, risk assessment, risk management on private networks and public communication networks. What are the common factors? What are the differential factors? And the last project, we are approaching a communication security plan on the issue. In fact, it's a continuation of a study that the European Commission did last year on availability and robustness of electronic communications infrastructures. And so that's how we are approaching this issue. I would like to bring you the attention that each of these projects gives a different flavor to the issue of communication security. And in fact, with each of these projects, we are putting into practice an awareness issue. And we are discussing with different bodies within and outside Portugal. So we are also dealing with spam. We have a plan to develop an issue on fighting against spam, when we are just sending a questionnaire to ISPs to evaluate what's going on in Portugal. We have a lot of information on international terms. We have a lot of information from each Portuguese ISP, but we have a lack of aggregated information on Portugal point of view. That's what we are looking here. These are the questions on the questionnaire. You can read it later. It's an adaptation of a questionnaire that ENISA has done last year. And I think it's important. I leave it for you. What are the questions that we are raising to the ISPs? From these questions, there will be conclusions and recommendations on next steps to follow. So we are looking at what are their measures, what is their relations with their clients, what are their relations between ISPs, what are the relations between ISPs and operators, what are the relations in the international terms, in the national terms. That's what we are looking at. Finally, I want to give you an idea of what we do on cooperation. At the national level, we participate. We have a national public infrastructure system that was installed 2 years ago, if I recall, It's the basis of several projects. One of the projects is the Citizens Card. So there we are dealing with identity. We are also a member of a council on technical accreditation on digital signatures. And we are also a member of the Emergency Planning Commission. So that gives you a flavor on what we do on crisis, on emergency, on ID management, on accreditation. At the European level, we participate at the ENISA, we participate at Contact Network of Spam Authorities, and we participate at IRG. It's an independent regulators group. It's a European group from the regulators, and NIS is Network and Information Security Group, where we are discussing the issues regarding communication security. At the international level, we participate at the OECD, at the ISCCP committee, and at Working Party on Information and Security and Privacy, and also in ITU. This is the page on the, it's in Portuguese, of the ANACOM. We have an area for security. This is the area on security. There are several links that you can visit, and you can observe what's our point of view on giving information to the public in general and to everybody that wants to assess what's our point of view. Thank you again, Chairman.
Thank you very much, especially for keeping to your 10 minutes. The next speaker is Ben Hussein Zauri from the Tunisian SET, Tunisian National Agency for Computer Security, ANSI.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Belhassen Zouari from the Tunisian Agency for Computer Security, and I'm talking who is doing what in cybersecurity, the Tunisian experience. I would start with giving a point of view of the success keys in a cybersecurity project based on a three-pillar view, and the first pillar is related to technology. We can find tools, ICT tools, security tools, other kind of tools. The second pillar is about methodology, and inside this pillar I will put policy, procedures, legislation, etc. And the third pillar is about social behavior. I mean with this point the cultivating of the culture of cybersecurity, which is very important. Without these 3 points, I think it's difficult to succeed in a cybersecurity project. I'm looking for a project at the level of a company, but it is still available for a project at the level of a country. So, see, I take pillar by pillar. Regarding the technology pillar, so you can find the classical information about technology, like we can classify these tools in many groups. For classical security tools like antivirus, firewalls, and intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems. Other tools concerning the security of data. Other class of tools concerning the physical security, like access control and other issues. And also other tools related or concerning application or availability, and we find many of services here. And in this point, many actors can play their role. So we have from private sectors, security professionals who provide these kind of tools, users from private or public companies or individual users that are concerned by these tools. But it's one pillar, and it is not enough to succeed in a cybersecurity project by using only tools. So we have to go ahead and look at some methodological aspects. Here again, we can classify the different methodological aspects in many classes. At the manager level, we have to get security policy, some management procedures, auditing, assessment, some operational methodological aspects, setting some access control rules, for example, implementation plans, watching, incident handling, and other classical tools, operational tools. At the legislation level, we have to get a framework that allow us to work with well-defined rules and the means to apply these tools. Another class of methodological aspects that we can put in a group of that I call continuity of services, like setting a business continuity plan, crisis management, drill exercises, etc. And the actors in such domain can be so government, for example, for the group of legislation level, security professionals, private sector for auditing, for capacity building, and users, obviously, as they are the first concerned by these points. The third and final pillar that I call social behavior pillar, I think it's a very ambitious goal to have a good culture of cybersecurity. And it's a difficult task because we have to put a continuous actions. It's valid for any security culture, but it's also valid for the culture of cybersecurity. So continuous actions, diversifying media channels to push towards this culture of cybersecurity. And in general, the actions that we conduct to reach such a goal is raising awareness actions, but raising awareness is very different when we look at the target public. We have to raise awareness for the manager and decision makers. It's not the same means that we use to raise awareness for ICT responsibles that have some background on technical aspects, for example. For more general users, children have to be aware of the risks, so we have to conduct some awareness campaigns, but for children we use different means, parents. For teacher tools to include in the programs, different programs of schools at different levels, the aspects related to security of ICTs, and for different other communities or sectorial professionals. And here we can see the role of non-government organizations. So many actors are involved in such setting a cybersecurity culture. Now, regarding the Tunisian experience, if we see for the legislative framework some points, so the main important actions conducted in this field is the creation of national agency specialized in IT security, which is the tool for the execution of the national strategy plan that have been defined before. The introduction of original law that make mandatory the audit of information systems from the point of view of security audit, and it is one of the pillars of our strategy. The creation of a body of certified auditors that are necessary to conduct the auditing missions, and some accompanying measures necessary to around all these points. In addition to these specific laws concerning the security points, we have other laws directly concerned or not by security. One on electronic signature, a law against cybercrimes from 1999, and another for privacy and personal data. In 2005, we have launched a CERT, Computer Emergency Response Team, that was the first in Africa, and unfortunately it is always the first in Africa. And the recognition of this CERT by the network of incident response teams, which is called the FIRST. So if we look at how are organized the Tunisian structure around, and I will focus on the audit process. The target companies that follow under the umbrella of this law are in majority public companies, but also private companies. The principle that has been applied is that any company, any organization that has activities that use public networks follow under the umbrella of this law. So all these companies have to conduct a periodic security audit. This audit have to be conducted by certified auditors. The National Agency for Computer Security certify some auditors. Now we have around 150 certified auditors. These auditors audit these companies, and these companies have to provide the report confidentially, provide us the reports on these audit missions. We have to conduct the follow-up, and along these tasks, for the body of certified auditors, we have to conduct some training programs. If we look at now some tasks that are achieved by the Tunisian CERT, these are classical tasks as watch, warning alert, awareness, response to incidents, incident handling and incident analysis, coordination and training. For any of these tasks, we have many actors. For example, for the watch, it is a very important principle that to collect in cybersecurity in general, to collect information from different sources, from different kind of sources. So we have in the first here category or class a collaboration network from different certs around the world, from the first, this network of response teams, from editors, software editors like Microsoft that publish vulnerabilities and threats regarding their products, some professional of security like SANS, and from also professionals, suppliers of hardware products for networks, etc. And also one of the partners perhaps it appears at non-conventions, but we have to look. Hackers are also part of this network, and they have websites in which they publish their attacks. So we have to look at this source of information because it is also an important information. When we collect such number of information, there's, in the first time, a digest of this mass of data, and after we have other.
Please, could you start concluding?
Okay.
We have one more speaker, and we need to give time to the audience.
Okay.
Everybody knew that it's 10 minutes for presentation, so we cannot go beyond. We are already 4 minutes beyond the 10-minute period.
Okay, I will conclude. So, around these partners, we have ISPs, we have also different kind of users, professional users and other users. The awareness, as I told before, so there is many kind of tasks for awareness regarding the kind of publics. These are classical tasks, incident handling, technical aspects. I think that majority of yours are aware of these. Coordination. And I will finish with this slide. So we know how reaching a relative technological autonomy about cybersecurity domains by supporting training capacity building, encouraging the development of national solutions based on open source components, also improving and promoting research and development capabilities, academic and non-academic. Thank you.
Okay, we go now to the last speaker from Policy Policing Cyberspace.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Alex. I'll be very brief. So I'm going to do a quick flyby. Okay, the Society for the Policing of Cyberspace is a non-profit society. It's based in Vancouver, although it's international. So we have international members going all the way from South Africa to Thailand, Hong Kong, and North America and Europe as well. I'm going to speak very, very fast, as I can. We also work with basically, we work with the law enforcement community and the corporate community, so to enhance the private and public partnerships. We also have the other arm reaching out to the public, the general public, to do public education. And one thing in particular is, although you would think that everybody speaks English in Canada, but there are a lot of smaller communities who do not speak English, and reaching out to them, especially teaching the parents how to help the children, is almost impossible if you don't reach out to the ethnic media, which is something that we do. This is going to show you the type of partnerships that we have. It's reflected by our board. And we're truly international. Our president is in England. The VP, we have two VPs to balance it out, one from the law enforcement side, one representing the corporate side. The treasurer has nothing to do with cybercrime. He is a straight CGA from the business side, and the secretary from Japan. He was from US, but he's actually now in Japan. So what do? We look at legal issues, cyber ethics, especially cyber ethics for children, teaching them, the next generation not to do what they're not supposed to do. Training, recruitment needs, proactive policies, looking at prevention, so not just reactive, which as most of you know, working with law enforcement very often because of resources limitations is very reactive, but we have to be very proactive and prevention side. In 2008, as with our past years, we are going to hold international summits, annual international summit, and this is going to be held in Thailand again this year. On an ongoing basis, we have quarterly meetings and seminars to exchange information. We also provide speakers for other organizations if they ask. Now, I'm going to go down to the ILICA, the Law Enforcement Cybercrime Award, and that is for, I'm going to skip through all this. You can always ask me questions afterwards. I would be happy to do that. The International Cybercrime Award was started up by Motorola USA, and Sun Microsystems joined it last year, again, to promote the partnership between the private and public sector, especially in particular for this one. We want to encourage the law enforcement community to work outside of the law enforcement community to establish those partnerships. And so every year we will choose 2 winners, and they will be sponsored by these 2 sponsors to go to wherever we hold our annual conference. So the lucky ones will get to go to Thailand this year. But it's awarded to the law enforcement unit, and if there's any cash left over, we provide that leftover cash for the law enforcement unit to help them with whatever they're doing in the cybercrime prevention and detection and response area. Another initiative I want to highlight is the PolSite Trusted Community Portal. And this one, and I'll talk about the certification very briefly afterwards. This is the portal is very, very key to building trusted partnerships, and communication, as you have heard, is key. So, but this one is for PolSite members only, and PolSite members have to be vetted, usually by referral by another member. And so corporate members and the law enforcement members, including police and prosecutors, can have a quick and kind of real-time discussion online. And they can also have contact points, direct contact points. They will also have a discussion forum, and they will maintain and update it themselves through PolSafe. We will have a who's who for contact points, hotspot. A lot of these new initiatives, I would really hope that when we get our portal up and running, that it will be included in there. We'll also have links to other similar portals outside of PolSafe. E-headlines, very often you don't have time to read any e-news, so we just want to flash headlines. So when you switch on, you get on, you'll know at least the headlines of what's going on. E-journal, any research, upcoming research. And the members' wish list is very important as well. It's a lot of the law enforcement community especially, they always say, oh, we wish we have this tool to help us. And very often it might very well already exist. So why reinvent the wheel, and why don't we share resources? So if another member sees that item on the wish list, be it a corporate member or another law enforcement member in another part of the world, they can say, hey, we actually have it, or we could modify it. Why don't we work on it? So the key thing is sharing information and sharing resources, which none of us have enough of all the time. And the wish list could apply also to the corporate world too. They might also sit there and say, hey, we wish we could get some help from the law enforcement in this area. We're really struggling. So I'm going to skip through all this, which I've flown through. The CICP certification for international cybercrime professionals. We recognize that nowadays management level and the executive level, very often we're talking about you're a manager, but the knowledge level might be different. So this is just one of our efforts to bring some common knowledge together wherever you are. And it's not setting the standards. We're not saying that we are PolSafe, we're going to set the standards, but just to have some commonality of what to expect from different levels of management. So basically having a wider base of the criminal laws in other countries, because cybercrime cross borders, as all of you know, their forensic tools, a basis of what the forensic tools are, it's not going to be a hands-on thing, you know, because they have hands-on people working for them. And that's it. So any other questions, please feel free to ask me either here or afterwards. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. You actually were the first speaker to go under the 10 minutes.
I actually went out to buy a Swiss watch at coffee time. I told you that.
Yeah, watch is doing well. I can assure you. Oh, sorry. Now it's up to the audience. You know, we've heard a number of presentations on what people are doing, what different regional and national organizations and entities are doing, and this shows, it just gives us the information which we knew already, that many people are involved in the domain of cybersecurity, cybercrime. But I think it would be interesting to find out from you if you have specific questions or you have comments before we round up. We have 10 minutes before the end of this session. So
thank you. My name's Peter Thompson. I'm a journalist. I don't fit here very well, but as a journalist I've done a bit of investigating into how did we get ourselves into a mess where we have these amazing computers all joined up by telecommunications that can put one copy of newly available information direct from the professional communicators of states, business and civil society together, such that every scrap of available information is immediately accessible on all IT, and we are using the IT to disseminate every copy out of context so that we create overload, everybody has to search, everybody misses things, and there are spin, spam and information overload. Could it be that the paradigm of losing information out of context by using IT only as email and websites is actually the cause of many of the problems? If so, I have a very simple solution to offer, and it is to put one copy of everything together where everybody expects it to be. I have a business plan for a not-for-profit approach that does that. I'm particularly interested in official organizations that are willing to even have a look at this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that interesting proposal. I would personally be interested in knowing more about it. Maybe it could just have one central machine where all the spam and all the viruses are sitting in one major server, and I think it's a very interesting proposal. I don't know much about it, but I would follow up with him later on. We have the Syrian Arab Republic.
I think after listening carefully to the different speakers, we could highlight, for instance, the World Federation of Scientists should be one of the partners. I mean, you were at the first instance, we're looking for partners. I think this is a justified partners. Of course, the last one about policing of cyberspace, it's a little bit worrying, the title at least, policing the cyberspace by a non-governmental organization. So I would think also that we should collaborate with that if we are going to create this, because you are asking yourself, Alex, that if there is partners, let us have them. So I think one of the advantages of this presentation, we could pick up partners easily. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speaker?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to compliment the speakers in this panel and the earlier panel today on the fact that the message that our good friend from Syria just conveyed about the partnership aspect of it, the fact that there are multiple players who each can contribute kind of in an equal way in a global or international cooperative fashion is one that might be touched upon. Most of the last 2 days have been highlighting issues relative to the legal and the crime issues, and I also noted in the presentations in this session a significant discussion about technical training. And in talking about partnership, I thought I might just mention the fact that the ITU and Cisco has partnered for a number of years on the internet training centers around the world, 65 of them in developing countries. And within that program, which is 280 hours, so this is an intensive program to actually train people to be ICT professionals. Those courses contain security integrated into the course program so that when people are learning about it, an important aspect of training is that security is not something separate and apart from the technology, but something that needs to be integrated. And I just wanted to make that point and just continue to applaud the efforts of ITU and our other partners with regard to bringing those programs to developing countries. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think what Cisco mentioned is quite important and interesting because we have a very big program in the development sector for the internet training centers which are deployed in so many countries. And it is a platform that is already delivering capacity building solutions in the domain of security. Dr. Wegener, who is sitting next to me, he's already a partner of, in fact, most of the people on this podium, if not all of them, I believe all of them are already working in some way with the ITU. So, yeah, because even Industry Canada, you're part of the high-level expert group. So that just, emphasizes the point that nobody can do this alone, and we have to take account of Marilyn. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to compliment the speakers this morning and to reinforce from AT&T's perspective, who I speak for, the importance of playing the role of facilitator of C5, which was assigned to the ITU by WSIS. And in looking at the role of facilitator from AT&T's perspective, we're very interested in seeing an enhanced role in bringing together and highlighting the work that is going on a distributed basis to establish trust and security in what we consider the online world. And I've heard from speakers today, although I specialize in this area for AT&T, I've heard from speakers today who are new to me, so I wish to compliment the ITU for particularly focusing on reaching out and bringing together into the C5 format a broad and diverse range of parties who can share information. I think that perhaps in the afternoon session we might think more about how to broaden and deepen that in a very rich way to ensure that not only those of us who come to C5, but those who follow this topic can also access information broadly through the portal. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very useful point which we are going to take on board. We have Syria, but maybe we first get a short comment from Paul Sip.
Going back to Cisco's comment about the partnerships in training, I just want to take 1 second to also mention that just now in my flyby presentation didn't get around to it, but we also would welcome any requests from other countries, especially from developing countries, for PolSec to help with any training, especially for prosecutors. And that's certainly what we did for China. 2005, we had a conference in China in collaboration with the national prosecutors. And as a result of that, they requested PolSec to go back and help train their prosecutors, not in a techie way, but just to help them to understand how to put cases together, what it all means. And we did that last year with Council of Europe and some of the prosecutor specialists. So we're welcome if there are any other requests for that.
Okay, maybe one last comment from Syria, and then we round up the session, unless there are other people who want to speak.
Convener, I have been a little bit worried when people keep reminding us that our role is facilitator. No, ITU have taken a decision at the plenipotentiary conference. Yes, here we are facilitator role of ITU, but we could not agree to that. We, developing countries, we need more involvement of ITU. We have proposed at the development conference, all of us without hesitation, to create by the ITU a memo of understanding. Why we proposed a memo of understanding? Because the memo of understanding could put all partners on equal footing to work together. But we could not keep every time coming every 1 year and remind us we are facilitator. No, we need action. We have been suffering from cybercrime and cyber threats and cybersecurity. We could not just wait every year wishing to have people telling us what's going on. No, we need action by the ITU. And the initiative of the Secretary General, we have pushed for it. It was not just only his initiative. We were attacking him not doing anything after the resolution of the plenipotentiary conference. So please let us bear with us and not keeping big industry just telling us we are here meeting for facilitation. No, we need actions. Thank you.
Okay. This is, I'll just round up this session. I think we had some really interesting presentations. I thank all the speakers and thank the audience also for the excellent presentations. One thing which we are going to be heading towards the last session of this event, which would start at, I think, 2 o'clock to, or 2:30 to 3:30. So we would be breaking for lunch soon. But the one thing that I just sort of need to say is that ITU has two different things that it is doing in the cybersecurity area. It is a facilitator for C5, but it has its own mandate which it is undertaking and will undertake concrete activities in the domain of cybersecurity. Those of you who have the blue manual, you would see the framework for ITU's activity. You'll see the one role is this one we are doing here, facilitating, but we also do concrete activities. As Cisco mentioned, we are building capacity in countries, and there are initiatives that are coming up, and the SecGen's initiative is one of those main initiatives that we are going to be putting from strategies into action. So I need to just reassure everybody that, particularly the developing countries, that this is serious business for us. Time for talking is over. We have to move into really doing things. Thank you, and see you at 2:30 in this same room.